students! Today we're going to learn about the comparison of adjectives. Now remember, adjectives are used to compare or describe an object. For example, the tall person, the smart girl. Smart and tall are adjectives. Now, these adjectives can change depending if we want to compare two objects or to show that one object is better or the best than the other object. So this is the comparative degree and the superlative degree. The comparative degree we use to compare two objects. So we use the ending er at the end of the adjective and than. With the superlative degree, we show that one object is the best at a certain thing. For example, the tallest man. This implies that out of all the people there, they are the most tall, the tallest. Okay? Now, how we end or how we use comparative and superlative change depending on the ending of the adjective. So now we're going to look at the rules of how to use the comparative degree and the superlative degree. First, we will look at 3 rules showing us how to use the ending er, than, and the est. Okay, so rule number 1. All one-syllable adjectives like tall or short have this ending. So we would say taller than, shorter than. For example, Mike is taller than Nicole. Nicole is shorter than Mike. Okay? It is showing comparing two objects, two people. And then we would say the tallest, the shortest. Here we could say Mike is the tallest student. Nicole is the shortest teacher. Okay, perfect. Rule number 2. In rule number 2, 2-syllable adjectives ending in y have these endings. For example, happy or funny. We would say happier than or funnier than. As you can see, the y becomes an I. Okay? So we would say Nick is happier than Joe, or Joe is funnier than Nick. And to say the superlative degree, we would say the happiest and the funniest. Nick is the happiest. Joe is the funniest. Okay, and rule number 3. This is the last rule showing us how to use than, and the est. So rule number 2 is 2-syllable adjectives ending in ly, ow, or le. With these words, we use this ending. For example, friendlier than, narrower than, gentler than. With the superlative, we would say the friendliest, the narrowest, the gentlest. Okay, perfect. Now let's look at the next 3 rules. The next 3 rules we will learn. For using the comparison of adjectives, we use the following ending for the adjectives. Instead of er, we use more than. And instead of est, we use the most. Now, let's look at the 4th rule. Here it says, 2-syllable adjectives ending in uer, d, t, or some, we use these type of forms for making the adjective. So with comparative degree, we would say more tender than, more mature than, more stupid than, more quiet than, or more handsome than. As you can see, we put the adjective in its original form in the middle of more and than for the comparative degree. So we would say, for example, Nick is more handsome than Joe, or Linda is more quiet than Vesna. Okay, now with the superlative degree, we use the most. So we would say the most tender, the most mature, the most stupid, the most quiet, the most handsome. Now, with this, we use to show that this is the highest degree, correct? So here we put the original form of the adjective at the end of the most. So we would say, Megan is the most mature. Flo is the most quiet out of all the friends. Okay, now let's look at the next two rules.
Where are you getting?
The last two rules we're going to learn are also using more than and the most. Okay, rule number 5. When one-syllable adjectives that only take more or most are real, right, wrong, and like. So here we only have to say more real than, more right than, more wrong than, or more like than. So we would say, for example, she was more right than them. Okay, and with the superlative, we just add the most. Okay, so the most real, the most right, the most wrong, the most like. They had the most wrong answers. Okay, and the final rule is that when two-syllable adjectives have any other ending other than the ones that we discussed, or have 3 or more syllables, then we use this rule. So basically, any other adjective that do not fit in rule number 1 to 5, we use this ending. For example, we would say more curious than, more pleasant than, or more beautiful than. And in the superlative, we would say the most curious, the most pleasant, the most beautiful. Okay, thank you very much for listening.